Okay, why do you name it Polaris?
Polaris is technically the North Star.
All right. So what do you want to talk about? What do you want to record?
Johnathan, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you? And thanks for having me.
Of course, it's such a pleasure. I almost feel like, not that I don't deserve to be here because we do have a little bit of a history, but you're quite, since I've seen you last in 2017, you've had quite a lot of things happening in terms of global recognition. You've been on the book Celebrity Designers, 50 Interviews on Design, Architecture, and Life.
Oh, you are so sweet. Thank you.
Started your own magazine.
But before we start though, how is mom? How is really our mom? Because you promised to share your mom.
I did, and that's how we started. We met in 2017 at the Designer Showcase. We walked into, so it was an instance where it was the first and the best, right? They didn't save the best for last. You walked in and you were blown away with your, I believe it was Audrey Hepburn, correct? It was an Audrey Hepburn themed room?
Yes, it was inspired by the photography of Zach Scalaria. I think that's, I should pronounce that properly, of Audrey Hepburn walking in Paris with, she is the muse of Hubert de Givenchy, or Mr. Givenchy, the amazing fashion designer, and it was their friendship and that picture, the friendship and the romance of that picture, as well as his living room in Paris, that green living room, that famous living room that he has in Paris, that inspired the room where we met.
Such a fantastic room and such a great story. We walked in and immediately my mom was just overtaken. And it's one of these things, I think, where no matter where you are in terms of design, whether you're very sophisticated and can pinpoint exact items that you've used, or whether you're just walking into the room and know nothing about design, I think there's something you do that speaks to the soul when you walk in, and it's almost like someone who drinks wine, even if you don't know and you taste it, you're like, this is great wine. Right? And
Thank you. And that is such a compliment. And I always tell people, well, first of all, I never went to design school. The only design school I had was in fashion. For my graduate study was in fashion. And I always tell people that, first of all, I'm a self-proclaimed romantic and sentimental. And secondly, and more importantly, I think in relation to design, I always design from the heart. And to me, that whether it's for myself or for my clients who awarded me with projects, to me, that is such an important element, and always just a good starting point, because I think the end design will speak for itself. And in this case, that you sense, and you and your mom sense the passion and the soul of the room. And I'm so glad to hear that you enjoyed the room that much.
We still talk about it. In fact, we went to, we didn't make it to the other designer showcase, but the blues in the room that you used, I mean, even just the photos, it's on the cover of your magazine.
Are you talking about this?
Yes.
Yes.
Which is your magazine?
This is actually a smaller room to the side of the main room. Let me find that room right here. So this is the room that we met.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yep. And then this is in 2019. This is it's called Houghton Hall Reimagined. Yep. Houghton Hall Reimagined, because after my trip from Houghton Hall in England, hosted by de Gournay and Lady Rose, this is the exact same wallpaper that we use from de Gournay, the replica of the wallpaper in Houghton Hall. And then off to the side of this room is the blue room, and the one that we high gloss and we gilded the paneling. Anyway, but thank you. Yes.
You have you have a fantastic video on that entire process, which was
if you go to my website,
on your website,
JonathanRachman.com. There's a video of the installation I believe, from the beginning till the end of the room, the install being completed.
It was beyond that, and that is your magazine. I would like to point out that you have started, which is an amazing accomplishment.
That is, so it's called Di Sini Di Sana. While it sounds like Italian, it is actually Indonesian. That's my mother tongue, and my second language. My first language is Javanese, Java, the island of Java, not Japanese. It means in English, it means here and there, and truly, it is a love letter from me to both worlds, the East and the West, because that's how I grew up. I was born in the East. I grew up in the West. So everywhere I go in the world, I always love to share, anywhere from travels. I'm sorry if you hear any noises. I'm at my office at the store.
That's okay. Everyone's home. They're at their office now. We get it.
Those are our neighbors, and the transient neighbors that sometimes they can't control themselves and they just speak on their own. Anyway,
part of living
but yeah. So this is a more than a magazine. I think it's more of a love letter, a journal of my travels, my inspiration, interior design, architecture, fashion, as well as there's a department or a bucket, we call it, of helping others in the way that we can. And every issue in this is volume 3. So in this issue, there's always a place in the West that we feature and a place in the East. And this time we featured Paris as well as Java. And I think Java is the East version of Paris. Last issue, it was London and Singapore. And the first issue was 2 of my favorite islands, Bali, as well as Oahu. That's in the West, or in the part of the United States. Anyway, so when you have a chance, it's on the electronic version is JonathanRachman.com. There is a tab that's called Di Sini Di Sana. If you want the hard copy, please email me through the website. All right.
And you also wrote a book during the pandemic. You took the time to do that as well. The garlic.
I did. And it was a blessing in disguise. This is a super personal book, and I will tell you about the second book I'm working on. I don't know if you know that.
I don't.
So I'll tell you and your audience, whoever is watching. So the first book I completed, it was published last November. It's called The Garlic Peanut Story. It's a super personal memoir. It's inspired by my late sister, picture right there. The Garlic Peanut Story it's a story of forgiveness and unconditional love. And sadly, I lost my sister 14 and a half, almost 15 years ago. We lost her to cancer. And at the time, she had a 2 and a 4-year-old children. I'm sorry, a 4 and a 6-year-old children. And it changed our life, our family life. My sister was actually adopted. By the time I was born, she was already my sister. Originally, really, it was simply letters that I wrote to my niece and nephew. I wanted them to remember about their mom, because I know at some point their memory most probably will fade because they're so young. My sister was like my second mom to me. She was adopted. She was the daughter of our driver. But by the time I was born, she's already my sister. I don't see the difference with my biological. In fact, she was my closest sibling to me. So when I lost her, it changed my world. I was devastated, and I wanted her children to remember about their mom. And along the way, and mind you, I started this 14 years ago, and it was such a hard process for me. And there'll always be excuses, I wouldn't write well enough, or English is not my first language, or I didn't have the time. But during the pandemic, I had no excuse but to write and to complete this book. Not only I wanted to keep my promise to my sister, I wanted my nephew and niece to know about their mom. but also more importantly, it was my sister's 60th, what would have been her 60th birthday. So I wanted to make that a special occasion. But during the process of writing letters, it dawned on me that this story is bigger than herself and me. Without giving away the why the title is The Garlic Peanut Story, as well as what it's about in details, you and other people see me as the the celebrity designer or the jet setters, and I'm the happy, positive person, which I am. All of that is true. What you don't know about me, actually, I had a horrific, terrible, horrendous childhood. In summary, and you can read all the details here, it's basically I was not only bullied since I was at a very young age. I'm talking about 3, 4, 5 years old, all the way throughout my teenagers and early 20s, and I was physically and sexually abused, molested, and raped. And my sister was basically one of the first few people in my life who allowed me to be me, not to try to be anybody else, and just to accept who I am as a child, and sexually who I am as a person. But also she was the one person that literally protected me from my perpetrators. Like at times, he would actually cover me physically. So this book is, in many ways, it's to tell her story. I want to tell the world what an amazing woman she was, and without her, I wouldn't be here. But also the fact that I want to share the stories for a few reasons. Number one, no child or adult deserved to be physically or verbally or mentally or sexually abused the way I was. Number two, if that happened to you, you're not alone. There are many, it happened to so many people. And I want to be able to talk and discuss about it appropriately without shaming the victim, me, or people that other victims that happened to them. It's never our fault. It's we are the victim, and it is actually also an opportunity for me to educate others that there are a lot of things, be it sexually, physically, or mentally, as well as socially. It's never acceptable to be abusive. I don't care if it's reason, oh yeah, it happens in Asia because that's how our dad or our older brother treat us, or this is the culture. It's not okay. But beyond that, I want to use the opportunity to share the love that my sister has given me so much, and I want to pay it forward by a way of forgiveness. I've forgiven everybody that has wronged me. There's enough hate and sadness in the world, and I want to be able to move on, not just for them, but for myself. But also, these people need to learn to forgive themselves and not to do it again to anyone. Anyway, all that. But besides all the sad part, there's a lot of happy moments here that I'm proud about, and a lot of food of my childhood food and where I grew up. A lot of travel and happy memories. So all in this book called The Garlic Peanut Story.
That must have not been an easy book to write, but I have to say, looking at your work and getting to know you, it doesn't surprise me that you are able to give that honesty into what you write, because I think you just have traditionally given it into your work.
Thank you, and I'm glad you recognize that. With me, it's always what you see is what you get. I can't pretend. I just can't. It's I of course I'm able to care in a social manner and etc. etc. But when it comes down to it, what you see me in public or in a TV show or interview, as well as all the parties or social media. That's why I'm in person. And I think by now, I think you've paid enough attention. You and I have met in person, and you've seen all my contents in social media. Like I said, I don't know how to be anybody else but myself.
And the reason I had to interview you above all your other accomplishments, but really you've said a few things. One in particular that struck with me is that you don't follow trends. And you don't even, in fact, like the word. And I actually totally in agreement with you on that, because it's just too easy to say, this year we're doing this year we're doing that. When I hear you speak about what's happening in, say, design, you always bring it back to the individual and the person and who they are and what they like. And these are always common themes that I always hear you say.
It really comes down into the human factor. You know, all these beautiful objects that I collect from all over the world, old and new, vintage, antiques. I own objects as old as 1600 or before, actually. I have a prehistoric, some farming tools that I got from Indonesia. All of this mean nothing without the humans. And again, I mean, speaking of trend, you know, you said, we do it this way this year or next year. Nothing is a bigger turn off for me when I walk into a house like, oh yeah, that was done in the 80s because of such and such, you know, dating. Whereas something that's timeless and classic will only last. And when I say timeless classic, it does not have to be traditional or be a maximalist. That's what you see, or that's what I'm known for. But I'm able to do a modern, a minimalism that's actually still functional and classic and timeless. Anyway, but yes, you are right. My thing, people always ask me, what inspires you? Yes, of course, architecture, Paris, places, travel. Yes, all that inspire me. Beautiful flowers, colors. But more importantly, you, the humans, the person, the people who actually hired me. I feel so honored to be invited to hire to enter somebody's home. It's such an intimate process to be somebody's designer. And for me, it's about them. It's what I need to do to make their home or hotels or office, whatever I'm hired for, to be as functional, not only functional, but also as pleasing and as beautiful, but more importantly, to reflect on who they are as a human. There you go.
There is, I think that is another reason that I had to interview you. There is a lot of people will say, I want to redo something, and they're a little timid about not knowing a design or a design. And it's almost like you empower someone to speak for themselves. And what I've noticed is, like, what if you were to encourage people, say, and they wanted to make a design choice, and then they were a little unsure, but they could say, well, Johnathan Rachman said I can do it, right? What's the thing that you would tell them? Go bold, do what?
To stay true to themselves. Be it as a person and how you dress, as well as in building your home or renovating your house or a room. Don't try to be anybody else but you. Do not try, oh, I want to make my this beach house to look like that magazine, or what I saw in such and such reality show, or all this Instagram or Pinterest. Who are you as a person? What is this room all about? What is this house for? I always interview my clients to get to know them. And within a few minutes or a few hours or the first 1 or 2 meetings, we will, I figure out like what kind of design. I already see what I think I want to propose. If they don't know, unless they know exactly what they want to do, then I will help them to get there. But that's the one encouragement I always try. Be bold or be calm according to who you are as a person. Like for your living room or dining room entertainment, definitely be bold, because I love that. Me as a person, my bathroom and my bedroom, I want it calm and soothing. That's how I am. But some people love, they you know, it's funny, I have clients who don't drink for whatever reason, and I respect that. And they go absolutely nuts on colors and pattern. That's how they get high. And good for them. And I love that, right? So that one advice is just be who you are, be it as a person, how you dress, the hotels that you choose to stay. Like, I'm not, there are certain hotel brand I just don't like, or I would not stay for, be it the decor or the culture, or it's too corporate or too stiff or too snooty, or the other way around. The same thing with your house. What do you want this house to be? And you can't design a beach house in Bali the same way you design a mansion in New York, or in country home in the wine country.
Okay, so what I want to get into as well is, I do think beyond trends, there is. Are
we recording this or not yet?
We are right now. I just started.
Okay, good. That's fine. That's fine.
There's beyond a trend, which I want to go against that, but I feel as a species, as humanity, we are gravitating towards some sort of difference in design, right? Sure. Whether that's opening up a kitchen or whatever it happens to be. I'm curious, and we don't. You can think about it, but I want to know what your take on sort of the different styles that you see coming up that will stick around. Not just
that will or will not stick around.
Sorry, no. That you think are timeless, that will stick around. Some things you see coming up, like, and I think a lot of it has to do with, say, necessity and design, technology,
sure,
things like that, right?
I think specifically kitchen, to me, I think functionality should always take priority. Not to say that functionality and beauty cannot go hand in hand. Like what people say between what is that, function and
form and function.
Yes, form and function. Thank you. What designer am I if I don't know that? But I think but especially during this pandemic, what happened is people want a bigger kitchen, which has always been true, but now more true than ever. And kitchen has also traditionally been, or all along has always been, sort of like this central command, if you know what I mean. Whether you are single or you have a partner or a husband or a wife, typically the boss of the house, or the manager of the house, in some cases it's the mom or the wife, in other cases it's the husband or the partner, or sometimes it's the daughter or the son that's taking care of their elderly parents that live in the house. The kitchen is sort of like your home office, right?
Totally.
So what has happened this last year, especially amplified by the pandemic, as well as before, there is a dedicated area in the kitchen that actually becomes a home office. So it could be a desk area, it could be the island itself. So that's one. Two, all the gimmicky look, in my opinion, of course, as you know, I don't follow trend. I follow my heart, and I design kitchens typically always for the owner or the owners. All this, good Lord, how would I say this without offending a certain group of people? But
no, hey, just go for it. Just do it.
I always say what I think.
No, go ahead and offend.
I think this quote unquote open shelving, that's, it's so casual. We just throw a plant there. And this trend started by the millennials, this casually cafe look with, I don't really put details, or I don't need a lot of storage. While it looks good on a photo shoot, most probably, or on a piece of paper, it's not very functional in many ways. You don't have storage. It collects dust unless you're really, really good at it and keep up daily. Who wants dust mites food particles, moist and oil to splatter all over your daily utensils or plates. Who lives in a kitchen perfectly, honestly, unless it's a photo shoot, that you can just have this barely nothing and maybe a tiny little stove, two little pendants and open shelving with plants all over and 3 latte bowls and oh yeah, a place for your laptop. I mean, you know, and that to me is a look that I can't do. And if somebody wants to hire me for that, most probably I'll refer them to somebody else. Or I will say, is this really how you live? Do you really want to have a kitchen that have no storage? Anyway, that's, I mean, the key for me is always designing for yourself, for your life, not to look like a magazine or to look like somebody else's kitchen.
And I think as people have been forced into their homes, they're actually have the amount of time they're spending there. It's like they really have to live there, especially full time. And I think there's what you're saying, and I agree with you, is that while it looks great, it's not really how you're going to live. And it's going to look worse once you actually live like this.
It'll just be an explosion.
Yes.
You know, and I have seen that case in point. I have actually have families who say, okay, it was great for a while. Now we really need some storage. So let's build some upper cabinets.
Do you think there's a minimalist do you think there's a minimalist thing happening right now or not, especially because you're talking about the open kitchen and we'll just have these plates here? Is that something you've seen happen, or do you think it's going away?
It goes back into your lifestyle and your demographic, as well as you know, who lives with you. I mean, who is this kitchen for? Are you single versus are you a family of 4 or 6? Do you live in a 1-bedroom condo, a minimalistic penthouse, and you can afford it by not cooking, or you know, you have a stove that boils water or boils some eggs or make scrambled eggs for yourself and just order out constantly. A lot of people don't cook, so they just want the look. It goes back into truly who you are as the inhabitant of the kitchen, of the place.
What do we have to expect from you coming up? I know there's quite a few things coming up. What do you have on the horizon for us that we can follow?
You know, I am so. People think I must be freaking crazy, and most probably.
I like it.
You know, it's really hard to classify. Yes, I'm an interior designer, but also I've designed bags. Now I'm about to, I'm hoping, it was sort of stopped by the pandemic because of the producer. I'm currently designing a few things like fabrics for some companies, for Ellis Dunn. I'm collaborating with Alexandra Foster, and she does cushions, beautiful cushions from Italy. And I'm going to do the east-west touch into the decorative pillows. I am designing my own line of candles and perfume, and the packaging will be so gorgeous. We'll be collaborating with de Gournay and Marc-Antoine Coulon, which is the fashion illustrator in Paris. But I'm really excited to share about my next book, my first monograph in the form of coffee table, a gorgeous coffee table book, commemorating my 20th anniversary of 20 years in the design business. And you will see my design work and my inspiration, my travels, my floral arrangements. I don't know if you know that. I used to be.
I do. It's how you got discovered.
And it will be published by one of the powerhouse of publishers based in Paris. In English, you say Flammarion, or in French, they're called Flammarion. They're actually the parent company of Rizzoli. and it'll be distributed by, I believe, them and Random House, which is a big deal. And my co-authors and editor is actually a dear friend of mine. His name is Dean Rees-Morgan. He is a big deal. I call him Lady Dean. This is his latest book that he wrote. I did a book signing here for him. Jeremiah Goodman, of course. And that's Jeremiah, the late genius, iconic Jeremiah Goodman. And that is Dean Rees-Morgan. And Dean will be editing and co-authoring my book. That's what's going on, as well as I
want to buy an early copy. I want to make sure I buy an early copy and get a signed for Mom.
Yes. So originally it's going to be out this year, but because of the pandemic, we're going to push it until next year so we could do proper book signing and events and launch parties, and I'll be traveling globally. But also in the interior design realm, we have amazing, I'm so grateful projects. Things that I can share is we're completing a project in San Francisco, maybe will be one of my most favorite projects, the most beautiful home here. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
You're gonna have to edit that part. Okay, can you hear me now?
I can. Just
sorry about that. Just to clarify, I still need this space.
That's okay.
All right. So where were we? Oh yeah.
Biggest project home in San Francisco.
Yes, there's one of the last house we're gonna try to complete so it makes into the book. Maybe it'll be one of my favorite projects. It's a beautiful home from early 1900s.
How many square feet?
And every room is going to be so stunning. We're going to have lots of DeGournay wallpapers and other company wallpapers, lots of every detail. And I'm excited to hopefully to work with a photographer that's coming from Europe, Mattia, and he does a lot of the European Architecture Digest. We are also just rewarded a mansion here in California. The entire project, I'm doing the master plan, the landscape, the new pool, the mansion itself, which is about, I believe, almost 13,000 square feet.
Wow.
Guest house, tennis court. It just goes on and on. It's one of the most iconic mansions here in California. And I have another project in New York that I'm excited about, a complete different modern project and a penthouse in the Tribeca neighborhood. We are also working with, I was introduced by a movie director to a princess in Europe that owns a palace, 120,000 square feet palace. That's been built from 16th to 18th century, but it hasn't been lived on for decades now. So it's somewhat in ruin. So I've been hired to preserve, to renovate, upgrade, and redesign the entire palace.
How long would that? What's the timeline on that?
You know, it's funny because I've been telling people when I share this, I said, to be honest, I have to be realistic. It's a long process, and not to mention it's historical, and as well as we have to deal with the local government. You know, there's so many rules and regulations. There's so many branches of teams in the project, right? There's the architect, there is me, and I'm doing the entire master plan. There is the local government. There is the princess and her family and their confidants that I have to deal with, and the legal team. So it's going to take ages. And I always tell people, I hope I'll still be alive when this project is completed. And on top of that, we have our, you know, every project is important to me. And so we have projects. We just completed an amazing project in St. Helena, a vineyard. You can also watch the video, the vineyard.
I did see that.
That was like
I think you were there I think you talked about this on the Adam Carolla show, actually. I think you talked
You
about
are right. I was interviewed when I was in the
in
property.
the mansion, right?
Yeah. So that project has, good Lord, the main house, which is again 10 or 12,000 square feet, plus a 3-bedroom guest house. The guest house itself has its own pool. The main house has its own pool. There is a putting green that could be the helipad. It has a separate building that's its own spa, as well as a bocce court, tennis court, basketball, and a future winery. So
fantastic.
Yeah. So the projects, I'm super grateful to be awarded by loyal clients, repeat clients and new clients, and so many projects that that's very exciting for me.
Well, I have to say, I truly, from the bottom of my heart, I think you totally deserve it. Your honesty speaks through your work, and I can see that it's just, I don't want to use the word contagious because that's probably not a good word at this time.
Pun not intended.
Pun not intended.
I'm so happy to hear that, and I always tell people I want to pay it forward. I mean, I always called my hashtag is my unplanned life. I came from a small town, a humble town and island, and where I was born, the road wasn't even paved; it was rocks and muds. And I want to be able to share with the world, whoever listens or can use the inspiration, especially those in a similar situation as I was before, for the island boys and girls, or anybody who live in somewhere in the world who thought they could never be who they are, who they want to be. The answer is yes, you can, and it will get better. And to continue to stay true to yourself, and to always be kind and humble, and to really spread the love and pay it forward.
You are very inspiring. What you're doing in design, I can only hope to do one day in real estate. I pay close attention to you.
And what the
truly an honor.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And we're in this we're in transition in this country, and maybe I'm a very proud immigrant also, as well as I'm proud to be able to say that I'm living the American dream. And I don't think what I do is can be done with ease. I'm not saying it's not hard work, but this country, and especially San Francisco and California, have made it so conducive and so supportive to be able to do what I'm doing right now in my passion. For example, in Europe, you can't call yourself a florist or an interior designer unless you truly are certified or have been formally educated. Whereas here, it's a profession that I can say that I'm a floral designer, I'm an interior designer because I'm allowed to, and I can do it. So again, I'm so glad that you see right through me. What you see is what you get, and I whoever's listening to this interview, I hope this message will be spread, that stay true to yourself, stay kind, be humble, pay it forward, and spread the love.
Johnathan, thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much. I am so honored that you chose me to be in the interview. Please give our mom a huge hug from me.
I will.
And when this is all over, I hope to see you, and we'll have to toast and cheers and share some stories.
Absolutely, we will.